I want to start with the fact that the two ladies that you are going to see after a second, Echo and Sandy, are actually part of the Presentation Guild. Echo actually founded the Presentation Guild, and the Presentation Guild itself, which I'm completely sure she will talk about after a second, is one of our sponsors. And I want to mention that while you're waiting or while you're in the next break, you need to go to the Presentation Guild's booth because they're giving away free memberships for a year. So go to their booth and participate in the raffle for 1 year, completely free membership to the guild. They create so much resources. I mean, if I had the opportunity to participate again for myself, I would do it. But me personally, I'm paying for this. So Echo, Sandy, welcome to this. Welcome to the conference. Welcome to the session. I think that I'll be introducing you as we go. Are you okay with that?
Absolutely.
Perfect. So let's talk about our industry, shall we? Because this industry changed, I would say, dramatically, at least in my opinion, in the last maybe 5 or 6 years. There are a lot of things that are being written. There are a lot of things that are being published. There are just a ton of materials out there. Sandy, maybe the first question needs to go to you. What are the type of materials that people should know? What are the type of materials? What is the type of knowledge that exists out there for the people to search for and consume?
Well, what I'm thinking is going back and talking a little bit about where we've come within the last 5 years. You're absolutely right. It's really, really crazy. People are still surprised that we exist, that this industry exists, that people actually focus on creating great presentations for people. So what I would say is we've really had a chance to grow, not only in the last 5 years, but I think the roots of our industry started during the Great Recession. That's 2008, right? 2008, 2010, when up until that point, there were a handful of us in this business. Yeah. Echo, me, Rick Retschneider, Julie Terberg, as independents. And Duarte was really one of the only big firms that really existed. But what happened during that recession was all these big companies laid off people. I got really busy because these laid off people started their small businesses, and we saw small businesses really boom during that time period. Then as the recession waned and everyone went back to work, to their big corporate Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, those people still worked with us. And we continued to elevate not only the numbers of participants in our business, but the type of presentations. People started to see the need for better presentations and continued to come to us. So we have grown exponentially.
And in regards to the industry itself, that probably is the reason why we saw such a huge growth of content, maybe that was being generated in the last 5 or 10 years.
Exactly. Think about all the information we're receiving about storytelling, data visualization. There's so much crossover with what we do as presentation experts that you're right on, 100%. We've really blasted off.
Yeah. All right.
I just want to interject and say that I mean, I totally agree. And it happens to me all the time. People, even today, people will contact me and be like, I had no idea people like you exist. Like, I had no idea there were people who specialize in presentations. I didn't know there were PowerPoint geeks for hire. I didn't know I could hire somebody to do my keynote, that kind of thing. It happens at least weekly.
Yeah.
I think we have more of an opportunity to be saviors than traditional designers. And traditional designers, well, no, but think about it. People are at a loss. I was in the advertising world, and a lot of clients in that world thought they knew as much as the designers. When someone comes to us, typically they turn it over to us to help them.
Yeah.
But so about the same time, the guild started happening at the end of 2013-ish?
Yeah, and it's kind of like it's kind of a confluence of things. We always had, I mean, okay, so I need to almost say that the roots of the guild, the Presentation Guild, almost started with Presentation Summit. So back in the early 2000s, the late 1900s, which always freaks me out to say, but I got into this industry in like 1997, I think. I was working for a med ed company, and I was on my own. I was working in a silo, which so many of us do. And I was trying to learn I was pushing the boundaries on PowerPoint already, and I was trying to figure out how to do something. And I ended up on the old Deja news groups, if any of you remember the old NNTP news groups. And so I started reading every day, and I started asking questions, and eventually I was answering questions. But through that news group, like in the early 2000s, we were laughing about we should have a party. And somebody on the group, Kathy Jacobson, she said, "Oh, we could do this at my house the day after US Thanksgiving if you want." And people were saying, "Oh, I would come. And we were just laughing. Now this was before Twitter, because you can't put something like that out on Twitter. Now people will show up at your house. But back then, we could do.
Mm-hmm.
So we were all laughing about we should have this meeting. So that was kind of the genesis of this, like we should do this. Well, eventually we worked with Rick Altman to set up the Presentation Summit. That started in 2003, but there was still a need for that connection throughout the year. And so people were contacting me, like you said, around 2013, a few people had contacted me, 2 or 3 people had contacted me for different reasons, saying, it would be really nice if we had like a clearinghouse, a way to find good people who do presentations, who we know are good. Some people wanted networking possibilities. Anyway, just this confluence of things. So one day, this is actually the genesis of it, and it's a long way of getting to this story, but one day I had to renew my Photoshop license, I think. And I was on the site where you go through all the demographic stuff before you put in your credit card. And one of the things they asked was, what business are you in? And there was this whole list of things. I mean, it was a huge list. There must have been 50 things on there. And there was everything from graphic design, which I would expect, to like magazine layout and billboard design. And I kid you not, textile design. And I think that's the one that just killed me, because textile design was on there, but presentation design wasn't. And I was like, okay, I'm done. We have got to do something about this. So I got on the phone and I called all these people who said that they would be in, and all my MVP friends. And I called Sandy and I said, all right, it's time. And I called Steve Rinsberg. It's time. I called Brett Schneider. So we called all these people, and a couple of the guys who had been contacting me and saying we should do this, called them and said, let's do this. So we started the Presentation Guild. And
Echo, let's talk a little bit.
Actually launch?
Let's focus on the guild.
Wait a second. No.
Go.
All right, go ahead.
go.
No, go ahead.
Let's talk about the guild, because
so go ahead.
you said that the guild started more or less this way. We have a lot of business professionals who are joining us for this session and for the conference itself. Let's quickly do 2 things in regards to the guild. What is the guild, right? And what is the type of content that the business professional that's here right now together with us needs to know that you guys are building and you're constantly creating, that they can find value in?
Okay, I'm going to say just straight up, and then Sandy, I'm going to ask you to comment on benefits for business folks and things like that. But I think that the most important reason for the Guild to exist is to help validate our industry and to advocate for those of us who are in the presentation industry. So advocate for our practitioners. There are actually a lot of benefits to the practitioners themselves, but also to businesses. By doing this, there are a lot of those benefits. Sandy, do you want to chime in?
Sure, absolutely. So 2 points. When we talk about practitioners, our current members are not just designers. They're programmers, they're business people. They are folks who, as managers, have to create presentations, and they need to understand. They have a hunger for understanding best practices. How can they be more efficient? Because They're managers. They don't want to be spending half their time creating presentations. The other thing, one thing that we strive for at the Guild is to make sure that business, and Echo, I think we're going to get into certifications later, but business,
it's okay.
as well, businesses need to know what they're getting into, what kind of person they should be hiring as a presentation expert, how much they should be expecting to pay this person. That is part of, and Echo, I think you're going to describe this, one of our founding reasons for founding the Guild is
for the past couple of years. And Sandy spearheaded, we got together a group of luminaries in our industry and did a white paper on the future of presentations. So we do want to be on the leading edge of putting out that type of information. And I'm happy to talk about certifications, but I don't want to give those types of things short shrift either.
Right.
Do you want to talk about those for a second, Sandy? The State of the Industry survey and the white paper, and then maybe I can talk about certs.
Sure. So what Echo said was, we've had two since our inception, and the third is due to come out. We've conducted the survey, but the report will be out shortly. We don't have a commitment on a deadline, but it's being written as we speak. It's being analyzed and written. The state of the industry, exactly. And that includes salary information, that includes location, that includes benefits. What are members of our industry experiencing when it comes to their jobs as designers, as managers, as administrative people? It'll be really, really helpful to both practitioners and employers.
There was a little bit there. I'm already reading the comments in the chat, and a lot of people are bringing in the topic that a lot of people are just citing and saying, "Hey, what about the webinars?" Because those are people that are with active membership in the Guild. There was a little bit about those webinars because as somebody who also works with a lot of brands, and we train also a lot of people, I think that one thing together with, I would say, the Slack channel that you can go in and ask everything that you want. These two are just huge for the business person. There was a little bit about the webinars and what's going on in there.
Well, so I think that one of the biggest Guild goals, another one of those goals, is to help people in our industry, because people don't know it exists. A lot of us work in a silo, or we work in small companies or small partnerships. And so it's really good to be able to connect with everyone else in our industry. So you get more up-to-date information, and you get more current, technology and things like that. So you can be aware of trends in the industry, et cetera. So like Boris, you just mentioned that we have a Slack channel. So we have a member Slack channel. Guild members can join there. They can have access to, Sandy, to me, to other members, to all
ask anything.
All these different industries. And it's a really good place to get help on the fly. It's a good place to learn about new research in our industry. We have a member who consistently posts new research, which I just find fascinating. I don't have the time to search it out, and I'm so excited. I love that he does. And we have all of these great resources there in member Slack. So that is a huge benefit to those of us who are daily practitioners. But also, as Boris was mentioning, and people in the chat are mentioning, and our current members are mentioning, which I'm so excited about, one of the best benefits, one of the most popular benefits, is a short webinar that we do, a series. Julie Turberg and Nolan Hames do this series for us. It's called Inspired by Design. And it's a 20 to 30 minute webinar periodically. And they focus on design principles that you can apply to your presentations. And it's just like a quick coffee break in the middle of the day, usually during the middle of the week. And the whole archive of them is available on the Guild website, available to members. There are a few episodes available on YouTube for anyone to watch. Those are available free. But there's a whole archive of them. And then lately, because we haven't done any new ones for a little while, just because, busy, Julie has been coming in and monitoring replays and then answering questions live. So it gives, especially our new members, a chance to actually participate, but we we don't have a whole new subject necessarily, but it actually helps bring back that stuff and reiterate it for others. But that's one of our most popular benefits. And then we try to have other webinars that cover content that you can't get everywhere. Like Sandy had Dr. Nick Morgan come in at the beginning of COVID, right?
Because all of a sudden we're all on Zoom, we're all on Teams, and he had come out with a book several months previous called "Can You Hear Me Now?" And he presented the results of this new virtual environment and the impact it has on us psychologically, and made us all feel a lot better to know that we're not the only ones that are exhausted, and there is a scientific reason for being exhausted. So to that point, we have guests like Dr. Morgan, we have guests like Microsoft, we've had Prezi, we've had, help me, there's the Haiku Deck, exactly.
Some other ones, yeah.
Yeah.
But we've had quite a few different kinds of webinars, and I think the goal is to just give content that others aren't giving. So like when Dr. Nick Morgan came in, that was like early on in COVID, before we all had heard about Zoom fatigue. Like we didn't really know about it at that point. And so it was really good to be on the front, the leading edge of that type of information, I think, because then we can help guide our clients and, work with our community to help all of us understand what was happening behind the scenes and to our audiences during those presentations. So I think it was really good and really important. But during COVID, we have another benefit called Guild Gatherings, and that's just like we get together and just shoot the breeze for a little while. Sometimes there's a topic, sometimes there's not, but it's just a general like networking opportunity. And so the goal is to be able to form connections, to network, to not feel isolated. And we step those up a lot especially during the beginning of COVID, because I know that, those of us who were helping drive those, we felt isolated. So we knew that our membership was also feeling isolated. And we were just trying to reach out to everyone. But we have those anyway, COVID or not. We have
booked, we have those anyway. But one thing that we've done that again is on hiatus, and I want to mention this is a 100% volunteer organization. So everybody that is on the board, everybody that volunteers to help us with the salary survey, all of that they have a day job. But that demonstrates the commitment to the industry. Amazing, amazing contributors at all levels, from the board to the volunteers, members who step up every day to get things done, including John Romulo. He runs the book club.
All right. So I for sure have watched at least 3 of the book club meetings, especially with some of the books that I'm a huge fan of. But all of the Inspired by Design webinars are absolute must for everybody. Once they get and become a member of the guild, definitely you probably have to spend maybe a day or two to dedicate a day or two to go through all of those webinars, because there are now so many. It will be a tough job for everyone to catch up, but it really makes sense for people to schedule those put those videos in their schedule and consume them one by one. Anyway, the guild is one of the places for sure. That is one of the places that people who are curious, people who are looking for more in regards to presentations should be part of this. There is no question about it. What about other resources? Especially, for example, nowadays, I think that everyone complains that they don't have time and everyone is busy. Now we are not traveling that much, or at least it seems like we are also not going to travel in the upcoming months, but everyone got crazy about audio. And I think that our industry is not lagging behind in regards to audio. Let's elaborate more on the topic of audio and what do we have and what can we give to the people that are here in the form of podcasts and audio experiences. Sandy, maybe you as the co-host of the presentation podcast, let's start there.
Okay. So if you haven't heard of the presentation podcast, we will put a link to our website in the when the video is put up, right, Boris?
Yeah.
We'll have some posts underneath it with links of things that we've talked about today, and I'll include a link to the presentation podcast. But so not too long after the Guild got its start, Troy Collar, fellow MVP, PowerPoint MVP, approached Nolan Hames and I, Nolan is also an MVP, about hosting a twice monthly presentation podcast. And so that would have been 2014, 2015-ish. And lo and behold, we are more than 100 episodes later. We've held conversation after conversation about presentation design tools, tips, running a presentation studio. So if you're interested in getting in the business, but we've had business guests, we've had designer guests, Echo's been a guest. Oh my gosh, Boris, you've been a guest. And
That's correct.
it's just an awesome way to get together. It's very conversational. You might find yourself asking questions out loud while you're listening to it because it's just that kind of conversation. This is just a little fun. We have fun reviewing our rankings around the world because we are very, very niche. But we are number 29 in the UAE in art and design. I mean,
That's awesome.
we try to be proud of it, but we are ranked number one as the number one presentation podcast that you must download in 2021. But I know who the number 3 is for us.
I also have heard about that one.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, that mail came as a surprise to me, to be very honest. I didn't know that there is rankings in our industry in regards to podcasts, but then one day I got this email that our podcast got ranked the 3rd because our company also produces a podcast which is called the World of Presentations podcast. And you both, no, wait, Sandy, you were still not on the podcast for some reason.
Yeah, I know. We keep talking about it, but
yeah, that's true. We'll fix that. But then we got this nomination for 3rd place or something like this, and I scrolled on top, and I was like, "Who is the first one?" The presentation podcast. I told to our team, by the way, to be very frank, I told them, well deserved. I mean, I cannot say anything. I mean, well deserved. However, let's talk also, and let's mention the 2nd podcast because I think that one is interesting, and everyone should follow that one.
Sure, and I think you're talking about the Presentation Boss.
Yes,
right?
Correct.
Out of Australia. Absolutely. They have been guests on our podcast as well. It's they have 2 co-hosts, and it's an excellent podcast that we'll add the link for that so that you can listen to that on any tool that you use for podcasting. But there are more.
Yep.
They're not ranked, but just others that, I find very interesting. We've got the PolyViz podcast with John Schwabish.
Yep.
Very data biz focused. And we have Storytelling with Data with Cole Nussbaumer-Knaflick, who is a soon-to-be guest on the presentation podcast. With her story, the link. It's Storytelling with Data, and we'll provide the link for that.
Yeah, there are, by the way, a surprising number of podcasts. If you start searching, it amazes you, by the way, how many podcasts there are related in one way or the other to presentations, public speaking, data visualization, which is such a huge part of slide design nowadays, slide design, PowerPoint, all of those things. And afterwards you say to yourself, wait a minute, no one, almost as Echo said at the beginning, no one knows about us. But then once they search and just explore, spend 30 minutes on trying to find content, they get surprised. Wait a minute, what's going on in here?
There's a hidden industry.
It is a small industry, but I would say it's very well developed.
Indeed, we're here for you.
Yeah. All right. Any other podcasts that we need to discuss, or should we say we are going to link them up in under the recording and move on?
That, and like you said, Boris, search for it. Wherever you listen to podcasts, search under PowerPoint, search under presentation, search under coaching. There's a lot out there for you.
I agree.
Huge overlap.
Yeah,
big overlap with all different.
Yeah, even words that are not exactly presentations or public speaking or something like this, but very close to those words can help tremendously here. All right, let's move on to something that I think I'm super passionate about the topic, books. Our industry is, again, quite well represented, I would say, in the book space. What about books? Like, let's talk about what do we have on the market? What can people find on Amazon or any other place? You are holding, obviously the guild is holding book co-ops, you're discussing books. However, let's talk a little bit about that format, because no matter the fact that I love listening to audio, I also enjoy reading, and on paper, not the digital versions, but on paper. So let's bring the topic of books and what do we have in there? What can people find?
Oh my gosh. I mean, there's a ton of stuff. Obviously, we have a few well-known names in our industry. So Nancy Duarte, she has Slideology, Resonate, Data Story is the latest, I believe, presenting data. Cliff Atkinson has Beyond Bullets, which is really, really good. If you're looking for information on structuring your story, it really dovetails nicely with Slideology.
And I would add to that, what he does too is he takes the research that Richard Mayer conducted years and years ago, and he makes it relevant to designing your slides. And he makes it palatable for the everyday person to read rather than a research book. So I highly recommend that.
I agree with you. I think it's very accessible to the, I would say I'm going to say the typical business user, but the person who doesn't want to become like a presentation designer like we are, but who just needs to be able to structure their story well, I would highly recommend Beyond Bullets. I really think it is the best out there for that. Just good step-by-step process and worksheets and things like that.
Let me interrupt you here. You said the Beyond Bullet Points. Let me interrupt you here. You said the Bullet Points is one of your favorite books to recommend. Let's go a little bit in a typical fashion. Let's say, what are your top 3? If we have Beyond Bullet Points, what are the other 2 books that you would say every business person who is we did this conference, and we say that this conference, Present to Succeed, is for the people that are being asked to present, whether they like it or not. So if you have to add 2 more books that you would recommend everyone should read, I know it's hard, but what are going to be those 2 books?
I'm going to throw out a couple of random books that are not usually listed here.
Okay.
But one would be the Non-Designer's Design Book, or the Non-Designer's Presentation Book. They're by Robin Williams, and she does a good job. Not the Robin Williams, the comedian, but Robin Williams, and she does a good job of explaining just basic design principles like contrast and adding emphasis and setting up a hierarchy, things like that. So I highly recommend those for basics that you can translate to your slide design.
One more.
That would be one.
One more.
One more.
One more.
Okay, so this is a book I read when I was, and then I'm going to let Sandy do a couple. So this is a book I read when I was getting my master's, and it was called Don't Make Me Think. And it's actually about web design, but it is so relevant to everything. And it's just about, don't put barriers up for your users. Make sure you just lay it out for them and make it simple and keep it straightforward. And I just the whole philosophy behind that book, I really appreciate it. And so I think it's a good read for everyone in general. Don't Make Me Think. I think it's Stephen Krug or something like that. Yeah. Starts with a K.
Let's try Sandy now. Sandy, what are your top 3 books? Like, if
you
go with 3 only. I know it's hard. Let's go, though.
Yes. Well, okay. Of course, I have to generally, one of the first books I read was Presentation Zen by Gar Reynolds. Very non-technical, very just a general approach to presenting and why you should approach presenting the way you do it. Creating slides, I should say, a general approach to creating slides. That is an easy read and will help even a business person understand good slide design. The Step-by-Step Office series by Lambert and Fry is seriously, when I started with PowerPoint 2002. That dates me. I sucked up those books. It teaches me literally step by step on how to use PowerPoint. And what it does is it reveals tools that you don't know about, that you may not know are in the design ribbon, or the toolbar, I think 2002 was. Echo, didn't you tech edit those books?
I actually wrote one of them.
Oh, there you go. See? Add Swinford to that.
Group of us, no, I didn't do the PowerPoint ones. I did the PowerPoint chapters in one of the Office ones, maybe like 2013 or something. But
Okay.
yeah, I actually tech edited a book called the PowerPoint Bible, like over the years, and it's a very similar type of book as well. So those big, thick, huge mono books can be really helpful. I'm so glad you mentioned presentations then, because I wanted to, but then I thought I would go a different direction.
Well, I do have one more, and all of a sudden it just went on my head. Oh, I know. This was another of the first books that I read, and the reason I recommend it is because it's what Cliff Atkinson generalized in his Beyond Bullet Points, but Richard Mayer has a book called Learning in an say that again. Yes, multimedia learning. Thank you. And it gives you the science behind what makes a good slide, thus giving you the argument for why you are designing a great slide and a boss or somebody else saying, no, we need to have all these bullet points on the slide. And you can say, no, the science tells us that if we have bullet points on the slide, our effectiveness for that slide is something like 20%. I'm not quoting exactly, but it's a really good book. So those are my three.
Okay, so it didn't take a lot, and it didn't take that much of an effort for you to come up with three, even though that's not an easy question. To be honest, to choose
coming up with the best three is the hard part. Like, what are your top three? If you let me do 5 or 10, that'd be a piece of cake.
Yeah, it's always easy when you have a lot of time for a presentation. When you have to cut it to 5 minutes, it's always hard. So let's move on. Let's move on to something that our industry became quite good at. I would say again in the last few years. Sandy, that will go to you for sure. This is all about tools, right? We and a lot of people are spending a lot of time, hopefully not just in the design part, where they need a lot of tools. However, hopefully after this conference, people now see that there is a lot to building an engaging story. However, the second step there, once you have that story, is to bring it to life with visuals. Not every single time PowerPoint, Keynote, Google Slides will be needed, or Prezi Video will be needed. But still, when you need it, then we need the tools. And PowerPoint still, we saw today at the Empower session that almost 90% of the world still uses PowerPoint. So what are the tools that you would recommend people should know about? Because, I don't know, it will increase their productivity, it will make them better presenters, it will help them build slides like their designers. What are your top picks there?
Oh, top picks. The way you added that word top. There are so many.
Okay, just go ahead. Just go ahead and
we'll try. Can we brainstorm a list? How's that? Maybe between Echo and me. The hammer tool. Yes, exactly. Now called Thor, right?
Yes.
And that is by Core. Thor is developed by fellow MVP Steve Rinsberg. He has this website, Power PPT Tools, where he has a lot of add-ins for PowerPoint. And an add-in like Thor allows you to literally click buttons and hammer shapes into place, hammer text into place. It's an awesome tool for making you be efficient from slide to slide to slide.
For positioning objects and things.
Exactly.
Positioning and sizing.
I
would say that the website is PP Tools with 1 T. PP Tools.
Oh, thank you. Yes. And we will put it in our posting. It's free.
Did I say it's free? It's free.
Another free one, which you learned about. You learned about another free one yesterday when Richard and Ingrid presented from Bright Carbon. That's Bright Slide. That not only has a similar tool, hammer tool. They call it something else, but it's an entire ribbon of wonderful, wonderful features that will help you be much more efficient at your slide presentation development and design.
All right.
What else? I think, yeah.
Go
ahead.
Go ahead. You had one more, I think. Like it seems like it looked like you were about to say one more.
Well, Echo, you mentioned another. Well, we were talking about another ppttools.com add-on, and that's the language selector. Yep.
I wanted to mention this. This doesn't necessarily hit my top 10 or my top 3. I mean, it probably hits my top 10, but not my top 3. Yesterday, during the template session that Julie Turberg and I did, someone asked about setting up a language for your presentation and making it one language. And that is very difficult to do in PowerPoint, as I went into probably too much detail on. However, I forgot to mention that Steve Rinsberg at pptools.com has an add-in, I think it's called Language Selector, and you can use it to set everything to the same language and not have to jump through a lot of hoops on the, using the review tab like you would do in PowerPoint and stuff. So this is a PowerPoint add-in, but for those of you who are asking about the language stuff, do check it out because it may save you time and effort and help resolve some of those issues.
Excellent. I want to add more add-ins. Every time I train on PowerPoint, someone asks what resources can I use for photography, for stock photography, for icons. And you can add these websites, these resources as add-ins into PowerPoint, and I'm going to list them. There's Picket, Pexels, Pixabay. Adobe Stock has an add-in for PowerPoint. Noun Project, and I must go aside. They just, one of the negatives of Noun Project, it was easy to access icons for $40 a month. I mean, $40 a year. It's an amazing subscription. But now, or in the past, when you inserted via the add-in, you got a ping image, I think it was, not an SVG. And in PowerPoint, it's nicer to have an SVG for various reasons, like changing colors and that type of thing, and file size. And well, it's a great tool to have. Anyway, now the add-in provides the ability to import SVGs directly into PowerPoint. Shutterstock is another on that list. Yes, that just this week. It was one of the best announcements regarding icon access in the past 5 years. Seriously. Okay, and then there's Shutterstock, which allows you to access public domain imagery directly in PowerPoint, but also allows you, if you have a subscription to Shutterstock, then you can have more access. Any others, Echo?
Yes, PowerPoint itself, Microsoft has done a lot of work, and they have added icons to an icon option in PowerPoint. So you do insert, and you can insert icons, but they also have stock photography. They're starting to come out with stock photography and stock video clips, and it's really well done. They have also like these cutout people in all different poses and things, which are super handy if you're trying to personalize some of your slides and you need a person in, a consistent person throughout. So Microsoft's also done a lot of work in this area, and that's all royalty free and free to use in your presentations. So you're covered legally and all of that. And
Sean, by the way,
I have one more add-in for my top 3 though.
Yeah, Sean, by the way, was, very well that Sean was with us just before your session started. He showed so many things. However, he didn't show that one, and it's great to hear that you're bringing that up. Let's quickly describe. Let's quickly name a few of the tools, I would call them, or platforms. Go ahead, Echo. You want to say something?
Wait, I would just say one more PowerPoint add-in, 2 more actually, by the same company that I want to mention is NXP. NX Powerlight is also what it's called, but NXP and SlideWise. And they do 2 different things. NXP is for picture compression, and it does a better job than PowerPoint's native picture compression. So if you're using large images, but you need to shrink your file size, use NXP. It keeps really good quality. It's an excellent, excellent product. And they have an online version called WeCompress. So you can go to WeCompress.com, I think, and get to all of those. They have another add-in called SlideWise that will help you track down missing fonts and it is amazing software, and I'm so thrilled
Yes.
that they created it.
And both
So
of them
I
are
just
coming
wanna
from
put
the
in a plug
same
for those.
company, which is so amazing itself. I mean, that
Yeah,
one,
New
that
Power.
one is. Both of those I can like. They're just a must-have for everyone who is working on their slides, working on with
Yep.
slides constantly. What about the tools, the platforms, the software? Let's put it this way, that spans beyond PowerPoint, like not the add-ins, because they're obviously PowerPoint became such a platform that now you have hundreds and hundreds and maybe, I don't know, thousands of options there. What about other platforms, other tools that can help people here become better presenters? I personally, the first thing that comes to my mind for some reason is Slido, but for engaging remote
Oh.
audiences, for bringing polls, for
Good one.
bringing interaction into a presentation. Now that they integrate with absolutely everything, including Microsoft Teams, Google Slides, like all of those platforms, what else should we recommend for people to check and know about?
Well, really, Snagit, Snagit is a sister product to Camtasia made by TechSmith. And that allows you to get high quality screenshots from wherever, picking them up from your Adobe PDFs, or even taking video screenshots of scrolling. But it's a great tool. Check that one out, Snagit.
Echo.
I think is coming up.
Oh, yeah.
HMM maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah, working with slides and various online platforms to help bring the presenter in front of the slides. And I know that a lot of the like Zoom and things, they're catching up to that, but I think is really on the forefront.
We by the way,
They really are. Tested it. It's that fantastic tool.
we need to elaborate on this one, and thankfully we're going to have place where we can put links, because when you say people are like, what's going on?
What?
What? But the tool is really called which is now that we're talking about unusual names and thinking out of the box, let's say, well, that's something creative, right? I haven't ever before this tool was announced, I have never ever heard a platform, a tool, or anything else in my life to sound like this. So how do we spell this? MMHMM, or was that right?
I think so. I think
That's gonna get you close.
it should turn up in Google search somewhere if you put that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just type in and you'll see a presentation software. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, not
Yeah. All right. So we have 1 more minute. Let's end this conversation with, by the way, there are people like, we have such a huge support in the chat. Everything that we're talking about, people are like constantly bringing it up in the chat. So someone is doing our work. That's how it goes. So one last final resource that you would recommend people explore. Echo, maybe let's start with you. Let's end with one more category or specific resource.
I just want to mention that one of the things we did with the Presentation Guild is we developed a certification program. So if you are a presentation designer, if you are a PowerPoint geek, right now it's only for PowerPoint. We don't have them for Keynote or storytelling or anything like that yet. Those will come in the future. But right now, if you're a PowerPoint geek and you want to be able to validate your skills, we do have a certification program that you can check out at presentationguild.org. Throwing it out there.
Sandy, what about you?
I'm going to list some training options. Okay, there's training out there. So many people, the research we see is that they don't know where to go to learn more about presentation design, storytelling, etc. In addition to the Guild, there's the Training Magazine Network. Mike Parkinson, Nolan Hames, Ellen Finkelstein, Richard Gearing. Many leaders in the industry participate in that training. The Training Magazine Network. There's the Duarte workshops. In the past, the organization has had in-person training. They're doing online now. They're training on storytelling with data, public speaking, visual thinking, etc. LinkedIn Learning, owned by Microsoft now, and it used to be lynda.com, by the way. They provide a lot of training and insight into presentation, becoming more adept at presentation. There's nuts and bolts speed training, Bright Carbon masterclasses, Office Labs masterclasses, Skillshare, the PowerPoint blog provides tutorials. Alan Finkelstein provides tutorials, and there are other MVPs. Just look for PowerPoint MVP, and as experts in the business, they'll be able to help you.
Yeah, there are so many. I can see the pain in you because of the fact that you cannot say them all. Like, it just seems so painful that you are not like, how much time do we have? Can I spend 10 minutes on this?
I've tried it, yeah.
All right, we need to end this session because there is one more session for this event. I think that we gave a lot of homework to everyone because they have a lot of things
provide
to
links
now. Thank you so much for joining me in this session, and thanks for sharing all that knowledge and all of those resources with everyone.
Our pleasure. Thanks, everyone.